Is the original Evangelion series too slow? Or is that what makes it so freaking good? Are the new rebuild of Evangelion movies truly a visual masterpiece? Or is it just a shiny gimmick that doesn't have the same level of impact? My name is Ankur and this is Ankur Chips, where I just chip in on different things. Today we are looking at which one's better, the original Neon Genesis Evangelion or the rebuild of Evangelion movies. So watch till the end of this video and let's find out. The original Neon Genesis Evangelion series is a classic anime that aired in the 1990s. It is a complex and thought-provoking series that explores themes of identity, alienation, depression, the effects of war, and much more. The series is also known for its innovative animation for its time period and its iconic imagery, which has been referenced and parodied numerous times. The new rebuild of Evangelion movies are a soft reboot and arguably also a sequel of the original, with a considerably updated animation and visual quality. The story is much more condensed and fast-paced, and while it initially retells the story of the originals, it quickly derails into a completely new territory in terms of the plot lines. This gives rise to the inevitable question, which one's better? Now it's important to understand who's pondering this question. Someone who's completely new to Evangelion might be wondering where to start, whereas someone who's already seen one of the versions might be curious if the other version is worth the trouble as well. Contrast these with someone who's watched both versions, like me, and it becomes all about choosing which one had more impact on you. The answer is going to be different for everybody, but it's not my style to leave you with such a simple reply. Let's do a more thorough analysis of the good and the bad of both Evangelions and then decide which one wins. Are you ready for it? Let's launch right into it. Let's look at what are the things that the original anime does better than the rebuild movies. Firstly, the character development feels a lot stronger in the older series, as it takes much more time to define the personalities of all the people we meet in the show. We learn a lot about their past and see the actions that they take in the present day in light of those past events. The new movies suffer a little bit in this regard as they rely on a quicker pace. Related to this point, we also get to experience deeper psychological explorations of the characters in the original anime. We really delve into the minds of our lead characters and literally hear the thought processes as they deal with a trauma or a major event. This is sometimes more interesting than the robot versus monster battles. Another point in favor of the original is the undeniable old school charm that it has. Even though it is an aged anime series, it stands its own in terms of the visuals, which are so iconic, so nostalgic, and so beautiful even to this day. Next up is the sense of ambiguity that the show leaves you with. It can be frustrating, it can be puzzling, but you cannot deny that it leaves you thinking about the show precisely because of this. I would go so far as to say that the ambiguous ending is the single greatest factor that led to the cult status of the show. And of course, one can never forget that this anime had perhaps the most iconic opening song ever. Zankoku na Tenshi no Teze, or known in English as The Cruel Angel's Thesis, is wildly catchy, extraordinarily fun, immensely popular, with visuals you cannot forget. And perhaps this is the second reason for the huge success of the series. Now, what are some things that the rebuild of Evangelion does better than the original anime? First, of course, is the superior visual quality that it gets to employ by virtue of having been released later. It is so nice to see the show with updated and upscaled visual quality, which is something that it absolutely deserves. Next is the choreography of the action sequences, which is again benefited by the later release. By being able to use the latest animation techniques and mediums such as CG and motion capture and whatnot, the level of the action is upgraded to an unbelievable degree. It is simply beautiful. The next kudos for the series is for being so much more accessible and easier to view for a newcomer due to its revised pacing. The original, while being a deep and psychological journey, does so at the cost of being very difficult to sit through. I know so many people who have given up watching the show as it was so damn slow. The rebuild series makes things much more bearable in that sense. And last but not least, the Rebuild series has a more conclusive ending compared to the original, which, while not as thought-provoking, is definitely a wholesome and welcoming change that feels rewarding. So which one's better? To be honest, the answer cannot be definitive and depends on what you seek and where you are at in life. For me, I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion first, and it was a tough one to get through due to its irritatingly slow pacing. Then it was gradually growing on me, but the ending left me greatly confused. The older movies did not bring any satisfaction to me either, and due to this feeling of incompleteness, I started the Rebuild series when only the first two movies were out. That changed me forever. I loved the Rebuild films. They were so much easier to get through. I watched and rewatched and then watched some more of it. I have seen those two movies at least 100 times. Evangelion turned into my favorite series of all time. Not the original, but the Rebuild. Then the third film came and I didn't like it at all. It felt inferior in every way. I didn't know what to feel. I was so disappointed, unsatisfied yet again. I still wanted more, mind you, but the fourth movie would not be released for 9 more years. And then the final Rebuild movie came out in 2021, in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And for the first time ever, this series got a conclusive ending. I cannot express in words what that felt like to me at this stage of my life, at that time of worldwide frustration and isolation. The last movie felt like a blessing. I cried. I started rewatching Evangelion again. For the first time, I rewatched the original series again, and this time I enjoyed it. Now I love both versions. This series has seen me both hate it and love it. It is a very unique anime in my life, and it has been a great roller coaster and continues to be. So that's my rant about Evangelion. Which one's better? They each have their own charms. I would suggest you watch both and figure it out yourself. Which one do you start with? I would recommend the original and then Rebuild if you can deal with the slow pace of the older work. Otherwise, do it the other way around, there's no problem. And then let me know which one you enjoyed more down in the comments. I'll be waiting. When you watch Evangelion or any other anime in Japanese, you're probably going to hear some phrases over and over. Wouldn't it be fun to find out what some of them mean? Watch out for my next video, which I will link right here, where I describe some of the most common Japanese phrases heard in anime. If you like this video, do give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, this is Ankur checking out.